Hello again. I just wanted to cover some odds and ends before we move on to other segments. The first thing I want to talk about is a scenario that's probably going to happen to you. In fact, I almost guarantee it. It happens to me a lot as well. And that's there are scenarios in which you can get stuck. Your command prompt isn't responsive. You're waiting on something to complete. And I'm going to give you an example of this. This is the command called cat. And no, it's not of the feline variety. It's short for concatenate. When you give it an argument, what happens is it's going to print the contents of that file to standard out. We're not going to cover that kind of aspect yet because I want to save that for another segment. But here, if I just give it cat and then hit enter, it's going to expect more, so it's waiting for some other input. But because I'm never going to give it an input, I'm kind of like in this state where I'm stuck. You can see that the command prompt didn't come back. I just have this blinking cursor, and if I hit enter, I'm just still stuck. So when you're in this kind of scenario, remember that you can use Control C. So I hold on to the Control key and then I hit C. That will kill the program. It just forces it to quit, like that. So if you're ever stuck like this, just remember that you end up using it a lot, trust me. Another thing I wanted to briefly mention are special characters. These can sometimes get in the way if you don't understand what they are. It might unintentionally mess up your command. So I just prepared a small file just to show you right now on my prompt what they look like. So here are some of the ones. We actually use period already, so I think you're already safe to use that. But especially with these signs, you have to be careful. It's going to save the output somewhere, so it might do things that you're not intending. So just make sure you know what you're doing. If you ever use any of these characters or if you mistype, that's probably the reason why something messed up. Okay, the next thing I'm going to show, let me just clear this. We use ls already, and I'll go ahead and just show you that again. But you can also use another option for that, ls space dash. Well, actually, there are two things I might as well show you. The first one, let's see, is dash A. Dash A is basically all. There are hidden files in here that you normally can't see. They begin with a period. In fact, you can make your own files hidden if you'd like. You can use that move command that we talked about before to rename things. And what you can do is you can rename your file such that there's a period at the beginning, and it will know to hide it. So here I am just using this option, and you'll see, whoa, I actually have a bunch of stuff in here. These are special things. A lot of these are from programs that need to store extra data, and they don't want to get in the way of the user, but they have to have it somewhere in the home directory. Then they'll do something like this. They'll hide that information here. There are also some important configuration files, like your bash rc, that are here in your home directory. I won't get into that. Maybe I will at some point in the future, but it's a way of customizing your account. So keep in mind that if you want to look for a hidden file, ls-a is a good way to go. Let me clear this. Another thing you could do is ls-l, like this. And this is a list-based format. So here I am, I'm just hitting it. And now you can see that you've got this kind of like list thing. So now you can see the username. You can see the group they belong to. So these are the files, by the way. So it shows who owns it. It also shows when it was last modified. It shows the size, although it's in byte format, kilobyte format, one of those. And then it also shows permissions. I won't get into a lot of these just yet, but just know that this exists. It can be very useful when you want to look at stuff. Also, if you are interested in seeing the size of these files, you can add an additional option, this H right here, and that's human readable. So now when I do this again, you'll see, oh, look, it transformed it to something that I can actually read. So actually, this is a mohonkin big file right here, 2.9 gigs. But you get the idea is that you can now kind of look through these and have a better understanding of what's going on. Another cool thing you could add to it, let's see if I do this, ls-lh, and then a T. You can add a T, and then what that will do is sort it by time. So if you want the most recent stuff, again, this is the command I entered down there, then you can type that out, hit enter, and then you can kind of look up here, and it's sorted in descending order from the most recent downward. So that might come in handy for you at some point. We do have a shortcut for ls-l on our server. It would just be ll, so if you're kind of lazy, you want to save a couple of keystrokes, just type ll, and you're going to get the same thing back. This is not always the case for other servers, so it might not work, but here it does. All right, let me just clear this. All right, so the last thing I would like to talk about is something called table of processes, or top for short. So the command top is a lot like your task manager in something like Windows. It's going to show you the processes that are running currently on the server. So why don't we go ahead and just type that in, T-O-P, top, and then hit enter. We're going to get a new interface loaded, so your keys aren't going to work in the same way. They have different meanings. I'd be careful touching them until you understand what they do. I would look up in the manual because I don't even know all the combinations and what they do. But here we can see what's going on. Each of these lines is going to correspond to a process that is currently running. And here we have the PID that is used to, that corresponds to the unique process. It's unique for each process. It's a unique ID. We have a user here, so it's the user that ran this command. There are some other things here. I won't talk too much about it, just that these are some of the resources like CPUs. 100% doesn't mean that you used every single CPU. It just means you've used the equivalent of one CPU. And we have quite a few on this server, so that's why you can see it go above 100%. And then finally, this is the command over here that was run to launch the process. And to get out of here, you can hit Q. And that's just going to knock you right back out. You can see down here, you get your prompt back. Now, it's a good idea to be responsible for your own processes, because if you let it run for a long time, that's going to hog resources. You can kill a process by using the kill command, followed by the unique process ID corresponding to the process that you would like to kill. You can only kill your own processes unless you have special powers, like I do. So for instance, if I wanted to kill my top, which is actually already dead right now, I could have done kill 27125, and that would have killed it. But of course, it doesn't exist right now, so it says no such process. But keep in mind, this is one of the ways that you can get rid of stuff. And I would suggest you do that. All right, I think that covers about everything I want to talk about right now, and we'll cover more topics later on.